Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our call. I want to acknowledge you for being here. It is incredible that you are here, whether you are here live with me right now or listening to the recording. Can you let me know if this is your first time here? And can you also let me know if you choose to, how we know each other? You know, some of you are clients. Hello, Carol Sloan. It's so good to see you here. I love just seeing some people come in. Barb Ivy, Cecilia. Oh, first timer. We've got some first timers. Amazing. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, beautiful. Ah, Wendy, you are in Barbados. I love it. Hello, Carol. Lindsay, it's your first time from Miami. Woo! Beautiful. So I want to set you up for an incredible morning here for you, and that is to just drop any expectations. You've taken the step to be here, and now simply allow. There's nothing that you have to do but simply be. And you are going to notice that there are people that have HKW team attached to their name. Actually, where's Mario? Mario should be up here as well. These are people on the team. So if you have any questions, if anything is happening, you can send them a direct message. Oh, there's Mario. Perfect. Um, I'm just gonna see if Mario, okay. So you can send them a direct message. You can reach out to them. We are here to support you. Ah, beautiful. Barbara found me on IG. And then I want to let you know of a couple of things that I will also share throughout. Number one, for this for this session, these next 3 days, we've created a WhatsApp group. And I'm going to be all in that WhatsApp group. That's where I want to continue the conversation. So clients, please go into that group as well, and then we'll close it after the 3 days. So we're going to drop the link for that WhatsApp group in the chat. There it is for you. Charmaine has dropped it in. Perfect. Okay, let's get started here. Oh my gosh, so many first timers. I love it. Yesterday, now you're going to hear me go yesterday, last week, because these calls I have done in March, it will be 5 years. And so we're always building, but you're right on time. So there's not going to be something that you're not going to get. Just trust you're going to get exactly what you need. Hi, Joanne Love. So good to see you here. Maria, welcome. Here we go, Maria. So one of the things that we were talking about yesterday, which I thought, gosh, we've got to dive deeper into this, was the reported world versus the created world. This is such an important concept to understand and an important distinction because it is literally going to change your life. And when you start to incorporate, and just for these next 3 days, I really want you to live in the created world, not the reported world. So, what's the difference? What is the reported world? What's the created world? Well, the reported world is the world out there that is the dominant thought of the culture, the community, maybe our family, and in how we grew up. So it can even be that in the reported world, there is something that is said to be success. Like you're successful if you've got this, this, and this, and you've done this, this, and this. No way, Coach Kath. Coach Kath's word for 2025 is create. Okay. Well, if you asked for a sign, this is it. And that's what most of the world lives in. That's what most people live in. 99 point a lot percent live in the reported world. And we go about our day living in the reported world, and we are on autopilot. And our autopilot is tuned to the reported world. We're judging ourselves. Are we doing good? Are we doing bad? From the viewpoint of the reported world. But honestly, that's not living. And I want to share with you another way to live, a way to live where there's just so much possibility, where you can truly create what you want and you create from abundance. And when you realize that in that world, abundance is all there is and lack is created. And this is the world of the created world. This is the world where there are no limitations. Limitations is simply something that is created. There's no limitations here. This is the world where there's a specific way to be, do, and have all that you desire. But you've got to tune into that world and understand it. And here's the thing. The created world is actually going to feel uncomfortable when you first start to be in that world. It's going to feel uncomfortable because remember what I said, the reported world is what is dominant. You look around and what we're seeing is reflections of the reported world. So you're, especially in the beginning, going to be stepping out of that. Now, the way that we do this, there's a distinction I want to give you in a way to do this is by asking yourself, and this is the one question, and I know my clients are going to get it, and former clients are going to get it. Although, here's something that I decided the other day is that I don't have former clients. I simply have clients because even former clients made no sense to me. I have clients. Some are active right now, but I've only got the clients. So what is it? What's the distinction? What is it that you have to ask yourself so that you can be in the created world? What do you have to ask yourself so that you can be in the created world? What would I love? That's it. What would I love? Because what would I love is what puts you in the creative world. You're now starting to open up and connect to desire. Right, Andrea? My favorite question only always as well. Barb Ivy. Desire is the mainspring of action. So when we start to ask ourselves, what would I love? We're connecting to desire and the mainspring of action. What we desire, what we would love is not necessarily going to be in the reported world. The reported world is telling me what I should love, what it would look like to be successful or all of the things. But I want you to come back to your interior, to that interior standpoint and ask yourself, what would I love? If anything is possible, what would I love? And then that's what we create from. Now, this is very much tied to your self-image because the moment that you decide what you would love, judgments are going to come up of why that is not possible because you're going to be doing this dance where you're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth in the reported world. And because those judgments of why you can't have what you love are coming from the reported world. And it can even tell you things that it is selfish to desire what you want to desire, or you're too old, you're too young, all of the reasons. But what you want to understand is that there is no, there, like, what you want to understand about desire is that desire is something that if you've identified it, you can have it, that it is yours. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to identify it. But the thing is, where it becomes a little bit tricky is that okay, I'm not going to speak in absolutes, but I will say it is highly, highly likely that you do not have a self-image that is a match to that desire, which is why you don't have it. And the work is so you can connect to something like, gosh, I would really, really love this. But at the moment, the way that you feel about yourself, the way that you see yourself, who you be in the world is not a person that has that. Okay, I'm just going to let that land. Let me know how this is landing for you. First timers, how are we doing? Dawn Marie, does this make sense to you? Yeah. And so for my clients, what we would be doing right now is we would be looking at our goal, at our Q1 goal, and really connecting back to it and asking ourselves, is this what I would love if anything is possible? Beautiful. Okay. I love that Ruth says, I'm here because I know I want and I'm ready to be that person. Yes. Ruth, you make such a good point because even for many of you who set your alarm this morning, were like, oh Lord, what am I doing? Um, this, there's no accident that you're here. Whether you're here live or listening to the recording, you asked for this. You asked for this call. You asked for some support. And so I want you to apply this to yourself in real time, which is why I want everybody to be in that WhatsApp group so that we can continue the conversation. And my team and I will be in there to support you. Now, it is my 30th wedding anniversary today. And the benefit of being married to a chef is that I was like, Paul, you know what I would really love for our anniversary dinner? And I can say it exactly and and have it made. So dinner time, I won't be active in the chat, but throughout the day, yes. Yes, Paul was a chef for 25 years. Thank you for all the anniversary love. Um, and the so again, be in that so we can continue the conversation, but you want to apply this to you. So are you understanding that where there's the possibility is in the created world? The reported world is lack and limitation, and we are bombarded with information to keep us in the reported world. So it takes effort. And that's why we have these morning calls to put you in a peak state. It takes effort to be in the world of creation, in the created world, and not just simply go unconscious and be on autopilot through your day. So, this is why if you have an idea that comes to you in this call, clients, when am I going to ask that you take action if you have an idea that comes to you in this call? Now, exactly. Now, like even on the call, send that email. And this is how you will get more done by noon than people will in 5 days. I promise you, I will give you, you give me this 1 hour, I will give you 5 hours back. And the reason is because you are so focused, productive, and effective if you let it be. So the created world is where all the magic is. And we start with what would I love, but then we've got to build a self-image that can have what we will love. And what it's going to require is for you to do things that are unconventional. Yesterday on the morning call, we talked about, and I'm just going to say it here, it might be too much for some of you first thing in the morning, but one of the things we talked about was how we can be so comfortable standing in sewage. How can we be how many of us are wired for being comfortable in chaos, in complication, in things not going well? And it can be uncomfortable to be in joy and happiness. And can I tell you what can be very uncomfortable? Are you ready for this? I don't know if you're ready. Tell me if you're ready for this. I don't know. Are you ready? Okay. Okay. All right. I hear you. Some of you are very uncomfortable in peace. In peace, in having all that you desire and more. That's very uncomfortable to be in peace and having that. We are comfortable with the crumbs. And so it's interesting because we even have a VIP session And in that VIP session, we're really going to go into self-image. And that VIP session is Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. And some of you don't feel worthy of being at that session. There's a small investment for it, for your commitment to be there. I think it's like 40 something dollars. And for some of you, even that, even right now, and we'll put it in the chat, clicking on the VIP session and signing up for that is you acting from what you would love. So from the crumbs, it's like, well, I'm getting all of this in 3 days. I don't really need to be there. Or from the crumbs, it can be, you know what, I have a conflict. You get a recording of the session. Yeah, Caroline says not not being or feeling worthy is a key block for me. So is this landing for you? I want to go deeper into this now. I have been so excited for today, and it's not because it's my anniversary. Well, okay, I don't know if Paul's on the call. It was, I mean, I tell you, I was speaking at an event the other day. Who was at Be Uninterrupted? If you were there, will you give me a hi? Yeah, Paul is cooking. And I said at that event, I don't have a business, I have a mission. Right, Janie? Wasn't it a great event? And this is my mission. And when I know that, gosh, if you're open to it, you can have a transformation. Yes, Maria says with the events of January, this is more important than ever. It is because this is keeping you in control regardless of the circumstances. Jessica, Jessica, what an event you and Suzanne created. You and Suzanne created miracles and magic. And so miracles and magic, which is what I'm all about as a regular state of being, that cannot happen in the reported world. So you've got to start to change your rules for personal success, for what success means. And I love what Price Pritchett talks about here. And so if you're really looking to create a life that you love and you want to create it through ease, joy, and fun, and you want to have mind-blowing financial abundance, you want to have deep, meaningful relationships. I was talking to Lise, who I met at Be Uninterrupted. Jessica, you're going to love this. We met at your event because we were both speakers there. And then we had coffee yesterday. Lise is here. And this is what I love. And this is what I mean by event action. And I was saying to Lise, I was like, Lise, I'm the type of person, like, don't say to me, oh, we should get together. I don't like to have energetic leaks. So it's like you can't say that in a, oh, we should, because I'm like, okay, either I will let you know that I'm not able to, or we're doing it and we're getting it into the calendar. And I love it because Lise is also a woman of action. So she was like, I'm in Toronto on Monday. I'm like, I'm in Toronto on Monday. I live in Toronto. And we met. And I want to talk to you. I want to share something about the reported and created world. We were talking about our kids, and my kids are a little bit older and teens. And again, the reported world tells you that teenagers are problematic, they're tough, they're going to rebel. It's going to be like a horrible phase in parenting in your journey. And I remember, and I've shared this with Lise, I had made a decision that I wasn't going to buy into that. I made a decision because that's not what I would love. I made a decision that we were going to be connected, we were going to be close, and I was going to create the relationship that I wanted to have. And how do I do that? I create myself to be the mother I want to be, the parent I want to be. And one of the things that I say in my I am statements in who I be is that I am the patient and present mother to Yusuf and Imran, that they are the most fascinating people I know, that I listen actively to them, and that we are close and connected. And so that for me is my priority. with them. And so if I am the patient and present mother of Yusuf and Imran, you can see it has nothing to do with them and how they show up. That is all on me. That is my responsibility. And they will be the first to tell you that sometimes I miss the mark. And that is true. But you see, I create myself to be that. And so I create. So in the world of what you desire, what would you love if anything is possible? But I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to be honest with you. It is going to require unconventional approaches. In fact, some of the things that you've been doing will not work, and you know it, and it's already coming to you right now. Quantum leaps, if you want to have a quantum leap, if you want to live in a different world, it's going to require paradoxical approaches. Okay, it's unusual moves. It's actions that on the surface often seem to contradict common sense. Okay, for some of you, it's leaving that job with the pension, the thing that is my friend Jen Govier on this call? Is she on here? Okay. Is she on here? Okay, well, I spoke to Jen that day that we called her. So Jen Govier, creator of Hux, everybody look her up. She's amazing. She was on this morning call and we talk about event action. And she says that she's going to go all in on her dream and she's going to leave her corporate job. And I'm not telling anybody to leave their corporate job, by the way. I'm saying, what is it for you? You've got your version of this. What is it for you? And so she says, yeah, I'm going to do it in January. I need a date. I need a date because January is a someday day. I need a date. So she says January 24th. She's going to do this. And so we called her on this call live on January 24th to say, Jen, you got this. You're going in, you're going to do it. And we have the recording of it. Well, guys, I don't think I told you this. Because that was on Friday, right? She called me that night. I was sitting with Manira and some others. She called me that night and she did it. And she said, Hina, she said, I did it because of you and my commitment to that group. And when I say something, I do it. And I knew I wasn't going to back out. So do you see the difference between I'm going to do it in January and Jan 24th? She did it. She's all in. But you don't like the amount of people and her own judgments of, are you crazy? This contradicts common sense. So for you, it may not be that. It could be asking that person out. It could be applying for a new position. It could be going into your employer's office, to your leader's office and sharing an idea that you've been sitting on because you've been judging yourself on it and it's not your job. And so really should it come from you or you don't want people to think this or that? There's going to be something, if you want to live in this world, that's going to contradict common sense. And I want you to think about what this is. Yeah, Annie, listen, I got to tell you, Annie says, love this. This happened to me. You don't know how many times when I am with you, I am biting my tongue. And Manira will tell you because she's been in our community now for months that that is not an easy thing for me to do. But I'm like, you have not hired me. It's not my business. So we just try to drop some things here and there. But yes, you did it. You launched November 15th. It's a decision. And so many of you are living a someday life. When then? Because why do we do this? Well, we go with the obvious. We fall into the habit of relying on behaviors that worked best for us for years. And it's not only on the habits of relying on behaviors that have worked for us, our whole environment is set up for it. Your environment other than the clients here, are not set up for what you would love, for creating with ease. And when I say your environment, I also mean your inner environment, your self-talk. Ask yourself this: does my inner talk match the inner talk of the person with my goal? I remember when I first asked myself that as I was starting to do this work. Do you even see that I'm asking you questions that are so unconventional? Does my inner talk match the inner talk of the person with my goal? Maria says no. So your inner environment, Maria, isn't set up to actualize your goal. Yeah, so much better than before. That's beautiful. When we start over the years, and maybe some of you have landed here where we are taking an approach that seems very serviceable, enables us to perform really well, what happens is we become very attached to it. And what we can see is for many of us, when the pandemic happened and it changed things, it forced us to let go of some conventional approaches. And that's why, for some, they became millionaires because they started to use a different approach because they were forced to. They came up with a different idea, with a different level of service. They had to create. The reported world was had changed so abruptly. So, a reminder again, we have the WhatsApp chat. Please go in there. That's where we're going to be communicating for the next 3 days, and then we will close it. We have the VIP call. And then I want to let you know that on Thursday, I'm going to stay on to unveil and share about my new program, which is launching. So that will be from 7 a.m. to 7:30. It will also be recorded. Now, here's the thing. We don't readily relinquish habit patterns that have been working with us, which is why in the pandemic we were forced to. Otherwise, there are things that some of us created that we never would have created. There's always a tendency, Price Pritchett says, to follow our favorite approach more and more often, such that we get better and better at handling things in a particular way. And then when we think about what we would love and it requires an unconventional approach or it requires some paradoxical behavior, it can also require us to be um, kind of unsteady again, at feeling like we're at the beginning again, and we don't want to look bad. So we will stay in something that has long expired because we do not want to look bad or we don't want to look foolish. So we've got to go beyond the logical. Because what happens is, and let me know if you can relate to this, you have an over dependence in certain strategies and tactics. Yeah, Caroline says, yes. Why? Yes, it's self-image, Caroline. You stay with me. We're going to talk about this over the next 3 days. Yes, and you're not the only one that's sitting here going, oh my gosh, this is a pattern. I have so many dreams that are on the shelf that maybe I pull down for a little bit and then I talk myself out of it and I put it back. And that's the someday life. That's the when then. So we resist these new maneuvers because they make us feel clumsy and awkward. And here's the big thing. Let me know if you can relate to this. They make us feel more at risk. Like the stakes feel really, really high. Lisa and I were talking yesterday, and I was had the beautiful opportunity of learning more about her. And also I was sharing about, what I do here. And I was saying, why people come to work with me. And one of the reasons that they stay, because people stay with us for years, they may even pause and come back, is for the community. Because when you're doing things, when you're operating at this peak level, which is very different than what you're hearing around you, than the reported world, and you're in the created world, you need a community that can help you hold you to your standards because your self-image is made up of your standards and your stories. And when you're starting to do this, like Jen did, Jen Govier, and she selected that date and we all heard it, she could not unring that bell. Well, then this is what supports you when you are feeling clumsy, awkward, and when you're feeling more at risk. I love that right now in Barbados, there's a group of people that are extraordinary. I saw a picture of a of dinner and I was like, man, that if you could be anywhere in the world in that moment, it would be to be at that table. And all of them met in this community years ago. And right now, many are on this call and they're going to probably meet at the beach afterwards because they were with each other, holding each other to a standard as they were making some really important moves when they didn't have all the answers. They just knew what their next step was. So if you want to accelerate your rate of achievement rapidly, and who wants to do that? Who would love to create more by doing less? Perfect. You're in the right spot. You've got to do something different. You're going to have to employ new behaviors. You will have to be different. You will, I love Cynthia and Glenna, not a morning person. Well, here we are. And the change that that makes in putting yourself in a peak state. You've got to be willing to break out of your routines. You've got to be willing to break out of the reported world. What would you love? Really, if you were honest with yourself and you weren't judging yourself for age, stage, whatever the reason is to keep to keep living the someday life, what would you love? I love this. Wendy says an idea that became a reality of being together in Barbados. So the things that worked for you, and this is what I want you to put on notice, the things that worked for you in the past will lose their serviceability. I love this, Michelle. Michelle says, I totally had a conversation with myself about why I would skip this call this morning, but I won over the voice in my head that said, stay in bed. Yeah. So I want to acknowledge you for that, Michelle, because here's the thing, that is the work that is self-image. It's the promises that we keep for ourselves. I wouldn't have known, right? Annie, congratulations. I wouldn't have known. The people on this call wouldn't have known. You just started to change something in yourself. It is a battle. It's still a battle for me sometimes, Michelle. But the beautiful thing is that as you understand it, you recognize it as you did, and you override it. And then the time, Michelle, that it takes for you to override it, it happens faster and faster and faster. And that's how you collapse time. So even if your customary approach, like what you're doing right now, still holds promise for maintaining your present level of performance and growth curve, it's not going to help you if you want to reach higher achievement levels. Yes, I can share more about collapsing time. So there's so many different ways that we collapse time. Much of what is taking up our time is in our mind, back and forth, not making decisions, being in inaction, and asking everybody what we should do. So even if we just look at a very simple example of meeting with Lise, if I said, yeah, we should get together sometime. Yeah, we should get together sometime. And then it's like, it's this thing that is hanging over like, oh yeah, I said we should get together. Because we all do this. How many of you do the we should get together sometime and nothing ever happens, but it's still kind of in the air, right? Event action, you start to do that, you're more productive and you're more effective. When you collapse time, when Jen on this call said January 24th, I'm going to do it, she collapsed time. She didn't have to wonder or create that date. She knew that date. Now everything could happen towards that day. She's not living a someday life. When you make decisions quickly, you're collapsing time. Um, when you're with a community, this is how you collapse time. When you have a mentor or a coach, you collapse time. That's how I've collapsed time because they have done what I want to do. So I don't have to spend the time trying to figure it out. If I'm coachable, I will do what my coach is suggesting. And this is how I collapse time. Listen, I'm going to tell you something. I'm 55 and I'm just getting started. And there is something about time that is interesting of being biologically 55, 30 years with Paul. I didn't have my dad for 30 years. So I've been with my husband longer than I had my father, right? So it's just interesting, right? Like time. And I'm all about collapsing time. If there is something that can accelerate my achievement, I am here for it. If there is somebody that I can work with, that I've got to invest in to support me, I am here for it because money is something that, we can create, that can all be figured out. Time is different. So are you seeing here about the difference between being in the reported and the created world? So I'm going to give you, I mentioned this on my podcast, but I want to bring this down. I want to give you a really simple example of the reported and created world. So it's 2021. One of the things that was in my goals was I'm very close to my nieces since they were babies. First, can we have a shout out for Aunt Life? Anybody here an aunt or an uncle? I love it. It is the best. It's the best. Sometimes when I have them in the car, I'm like, the doors are locked. I'm like, it's time for the show that we call Uncomfortable Conversations with Your Aunt because they can't go anywhere. Auntie life is the best, right, Maureen? And so it is the best. And one of the goals that I had that I'd written down of what would I love is to take them on a trip, to have time with just them, especially now they're in their 20s. It's wild. They are incredible, incredible young women. And Sophia, she's the oldest. So I wanted to do a trip with each of them separately to have that time. And so it's 2021. They've just opened up travel. I'm going to talk about investing. I'm going to work with my coach in Arizona. And I say to Sophia, let's meet in LA. And I'm going to fly you into LA. So, and we'll meet in LA. So it's now the morning. So remember that's Pacific time. So I'm 3 hours behind. So she's 3 hours ahead. And she reaches out to me and says, and this is so tomorrow she's leaving. She calls me honey. And she's like, Auntie Honey, my passport's expired. Now, this is during the pandemic. She's leaving the next day. We know what it's like if you were in Ontario, government offices doing business during that time. I say to her, I say, Sophia, I see you and I in LA having a drink. We are there. Just go to the passport office. Simply do the next step. Now she's bawling. She's so upset. My brother gets on the phone. He's like, okay, we're going to go down. And that's what I told her. And she remembers that to this day. She's because I did not go down to the level of the problem. I wasn't going to go and go, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I guess you're not coming. Let's see if you can come in a few days. I didn't have time for that. I'm living in the created world. I'm not in the reported world that you can't get a passport in a day during a pandemic and it's so hard and this is going to happen and that's not the world that I live in. So they meet with the person there. The person's like, it's not going to happen. The person at the booth, I want to say teller, but you know what I mean, at the desk is saying to them, it's not going to happen. But I mean, your next step, just what's the next step is go get your picture, go get all of the documentation and you can bring it back. Now we're talking like 1 in the afternoon Eastern time, 3 in the afternoon Eastern time. So she says, she's like, Auntie Honey, I don't know. They're saying it's not going to happen. I'm like, Sophia, I see you there. We're there. We're together. Just do the next step. What did they say to you? They said, go and do that. Just do it. Just do it. And I'm also talking to my brother at the same time. So she does that. They go back, it's a different person. That person is like, because here's the thing when you start taking the steps, the universe is going to bring you the people. You know, you get your angels, and that person is rooting for Sophia and is like, okay, I think we can do this. We can do this. And that person was rooting for her. They did it. She sent me a picture a couple of hours later of her with her passport. I'll drop in the WhatsApp chat later today the picture. I think I still have the picture of her showing me her passport, and then the picture of us having a drink together on the balcony in was it Santa Monica in the Shutters? Do you guys, I think Lexi, you've been there. I don't know if Lexi's on the call. Lexi, you've been there, right? Shutters, um, on the beach. Uh, and so that's where we were. But you see, all of that, if we stayed in the reported world, that whole thing wouldn't have happened because we would have just been like, yeah, you can't. I mean, this is you can't. But this is what happens when you start to change your self-image and you change your wiring. That is not my automatic response anymore. My automatic response is, what would I love? I would love to be with my niece in LA. That's okay. So that's what I would love. So now what's the next step when if I'm operating from that? If that's what I would love, what's my internal chatter? Is my internal chatter? I wasn't worried. I wasn't sitting there going, I hope she gets it. Oh, I don't know. Will she? Won't she? I wasn't blowing up her phone with, did it happen? I was very calm. I was in alignment. So do you see how the question to ask yourself of what you would love is so important? You see, your self-image, which I think is the most important work we can do. And it doesn't matter how successful you are. Every single one of you on this call is successful. You're listening to the recording, you're successful. I have no doubt that you're very successful. And we still need to do self-image work. So your self-image is made up of your stories and your standards. And Michelle and Annie already shifted something by being on this call. When there was a story that was, well, I don't really need it. It's not a big deal. No one's going to know. Now imagine, what do you think happens, Michelle and Annie, when you do that tomorrow when you show up? And then you show up on Thursday. Now imagine if you do that for 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 months. What is the standard that you've created in your life for yourself? What are you proving and showing to yourself? Your current self-image, your current stories and standards were created through repetition. And it is going to be by the same way because the repetition creates the retention for you to create something different, for you to be extraordinary, for you to start to feel comfortable in happiness, in peace. as opposed to having your set point chaos, conflict, hard. But it will require effort. It will require you to be somebody different. We talked about this, and I talk about it often, and Be Uninterrupted. We talked about this idea of the acorn and the oak tree. It looks nothing alike. For you to step into your oak tree, your grandest version of yourself, your highest possibility. And here, spoiler alert, there's even a higher one and a higher one because it's infinite. You've got to be somebody different. And in that, you're taking different actions. You're all of a sudden on a morning call. You never did that before. And maybe some of you, again, would be worried about judgment. What? What are you doing? Why would you do that? It's so interesting because you won't find judgment if you say, I just binged. I spent the weekend binging 2 seasons of a show. And let's say each episode is, 40 minutes or so. Do the math on that. You'd have people going, oh my gosh, tell me about it. What is it? But to say, yeah, every morning I wake up at 6, I got this. Some people will be like, but what? Like, wow, I'd never do that. So the potentiality, that patterning for what you would love is within you, but this is where you have free will. You don't have to express it. And if we can go visit a cemetery and you'll see a lot of dreams that have been buried because of what other people will think. Don't want to be too much. It is selfish to play small. What's the service in that? When you are really going for it, and I mean like going for it, you are showing other people what's possible. I'm 55. Whenever it's my time to leave this planet, I want to be used up. I want to be used up. That I left it all here. And if that's something that you're like, yeah, there's something about what Hina is saying that is speaking to me. Just connect with that, see what that is. What would you love? What does a used up life look like for you? What's an action that you'll take today that maybe you've been putting off? Now tell me something. Did this hour, for those of you that haven't been here before, even my clients, did it go by fast? Or is it just me? Yeah, right. Flew by. Are you ready for your day now? Beautiful. And I want to suggest something to you. Again, our mind would tell us that's stupid. Well, here's the thing. If I'm suggesting it and you think it's stupid, still do it the stupid way. Just for while you've signed up for this, then you can do it a different way. But I want to suggest that you also you listen to this again. If you're driving somewhere, the team will email you the recording. We'll actually also, you know what would also be great? Let's put the recording in the WhatsApp group too. So you've all got it. So we'll have the recording and, listen to it and listen to it again because I promise you, you're gonna hear something different when you listen to it the second time. All right, you guys are all incredible. Love you all. Thank you. It's really an honor and a privilege to be with you this morning, and I will see you here tomorrow. Bye for now.